Well, CGTN's Robert Nagila is covering the protests for us in Nairobi. Robert, today's protests were planned to march to the international airport in the capital. Has this happened?
Hi, Beatrice. Yes, the protests were planned around in and around the airport. We've not seen anyone marching towards the airport. We're not too far off. We're about maybe 2 kilometers from the back gate at a place called Outer Ring Road near Pipeline Estate. And this is where the police appear to be engaging protesters who've turned up and blocked the road behind me. And the police are now clearing the road. But for the better part of the day, most of the capital city has been very peaceful. At this particular moment as we speak, we've seen more police reinforcements brought in, engaging the crowd. We've seen tear gas fired to try and disperse that crowd. There's a police helicopter that's been hovering up and around over our heads for the past 10 minutes. So that's the situation at this particular moment. It's rather tense on the ground at this particular point. Beatrice?
Robert, you know, the protesters originally targeted economic demands. What is their focus today?
Well, their focus basically, apart from trying to occupy the airport as they had earlier stated, is they are not happy with some of the sentiments expressed by government officials, including the president over the weekend. They're also not happy with the fact that after dissolving the cabinet, the president then nominated some of those who had been fired back into the cabinet. And they say that that beats the whole purpose of having a new cabinet in office based on meritocracy. So there's a number of demands that they had put forth, and they are still not satisfied with some of the actions or some of the concessions that the president has given to them. So that's the particular situation. Beatrice?
And what have you been hearing from the protesters in regards to a dialogue called by President Ruto 2 weeks ago?
Well, Beatrice, I beg your pardon. About the dialogue itself, the president had called for dialogue with the protesters, and he made it very, very clear. Let me just explain what's happening. There's a group of protesters who had gathered around us, and police are now responding and trying to clear them from around this particular area. Some of the protesters are responding with stones, but for the better part, most of them have fled. Now, just going back to your question, Beatrice, the president had indicated over the weekend that he had reached out to the protesters, seeking dialogue with them, and he even went on to a platform that is on X to talk to them, as he said they had requested. But in the end, he says that they just did not turn up, and they ran away from that particular platform. So at this particular point, the government does not really understand how to dialogue with them, how to have a conversation with them to try and address some of the grievances they've raised. But the protesters themselves say that as far as they're concerned, there's no need for any conversation. They say that's another tear gas canister being fired into the neighborhood here. The protesters basically saying that as far as they are concerned, the demands that they have set forth do not require any conversation. And all that is needed is for the government to act on those demands. These include corruption, for example, dissolving or rather hiring a new cabinet in office, a much leaner one, and other administrative issues. Beatrice?